I'm Donald Raymond, and at Heatherwood First Baptist Church, Noonan. So RemoteMix, I was excited about it when I heard it, and I got to say, it was. I think I had my first connection, started in less than a minute. I clicked on the RemoteMix option, followed the link from the email, logged in, created the connection, selected my board, and I made two connections right away. One was just full access, and then one was restricted access. Very low friction, super easy, super intuitive. It immediately started to open my eyes to what was potentially going to be possible using this versus just, a companion app. So right away, one of the first things I did was I just, finished up the worship set and had my laptop with me that day. So I went over into the fellowship hall as the sermon was getting started, pulled up the connection that I had made, and just immediately started to listen to the sermon and make sure that my pastor's, mic was at a good volume and that the EQ was good, the gate wasn't too aggressive, things like that. And I could check all those things right there in that connection that I had made without walking up into the sound booth and, potentially damaging morale for the volunteer that week, right? And reaching over him to make an adjustment on the board. Very quickly, I was able to make those adjustments and then go have a seat and enjoy the sermon with my family, with the rest of the congregation. So I love that aspect of it, being able to go put myself in the same environment that my listeners are in and then be able to hear it the way they're going to hear it. But the way that I plan on rolling this out and the way that I've kind of introduced it to some of our volunteers already is different levels of access that are correct and matched to that volunteer's level, that skill level, right? What they're comfortable with. I could give them, just 2 faders and let them just use those. I can give them all the buses, or I can give them complete access to the board. And what they're not going to be doing is changing the live mix. They're only going to be changing, the mix that we're previewing through the RemoteMix broadcast side of things. So there's a much lower kind of risk, and I think the barrier to entry for somebody who's maybe a little nervous about stepping up to the mixing console on a Sunday morning and worried about creating feedback or being that guy, I think all of that gets removed when you can go into an isolated room and take yourself out of that space, and you can have a conversation, and you're not creating a distraction, and there is no risk of feedback and things like that. So as a training tool, it's huge, right? And then the video preview, I think, is great, because not only are we using our ears and listening to the mix, but now we're getting that video feed as well, the same thing that our viewer is seeing. And so we're able to put ourselves in the exact same position as the viewer and make decisions based on what we want that viewer to hear and see. So yeah, at our church, the way that we set it up is utilizing an SDAI Spark unit. And we've got that in front of house connected to our network. Through that connection, we were able to go in and set up the connections to our Behringer wing, which is also connected to that network. They're actually plugged in that location. They're plugged into the same switch. So you've got a video feed through a Constellation unit, and then we have the audio right coming from the Behringer wing, and then we have the Spark connected to that. It's receiving its audio and video from the Constellation, so we're feeding that through and then back into the Spark. And what really pushed me to try it, I like technology, so it wasn't a hard sell. But we had been having this ongoing conversation about, if we only had a broadcast mixer, somebody that could sit in a room, get a separate feed, mix it for the broadcast, we'd have better consistency, more control. The barrier to entry for that requires a lot of gear. It requires another person, a lot of training, a lot of trust in that role. Maybe you're hiring it out, and we didn't have the budget or really, honestly, the volunteer support for something like that. RemoteMix comes along, and it kind of is that extra person, and it replaces the need for all of that technology. I just kind of thought to myself, why wouldn't you try it? Even if you're not sure how you would use it, or if you have a need right now, it's an option that's available. And if it could potentially help, and there's basically zero barrier to entry here, why wouldn't you give it a shot, try it, and see if it's something that could help?